Hello and welcome to your weekly preview of all of the big games in the Barclays Premier League, brought to you by 188bet.com, the in-play specialists. Well, we had a cracking start to this new season last weekend. We were able to put up winning Asian handicap bets at odds against for Chelsea to beat West Bromwich Albion. We didn't expect 6, but we did expect them to win by 3 goals or more, and we were able to bet at odds of 2.08 about that. We also put up 1.8 Manchester United beating Newcastle by 2 goals or more, and once that first goal had gone in, that bet never looked in doubt. In the other TV games, we suggested David Ngog to score the first goal in Liverpool against Arsenal. After Joe Cole's red card, that looked to be an outside bet, but it came good at odds of 7.5. And only the heroics of Joe Cole and the Man City goals prevented us from having a 4-timer, a winning clean sheet of betting suggestions last weekend for the TV games. So, where are we looking at this weekend? Well, let's start with the Monday night game and that man, Joe Cole again. This time around, we're betting on him continuing his good run of form. If you look at it, Liverpool have only lost 1 of their last 11 away games against Manchester City. The 2 games between the sides last season both ended up in stalemate, and looking at the way that Man City set up in the game against Spurs last weekend, it was pretty conservative. There are new players coming into the side, and I've got a feeling that Roberto Mancini and his squad will be content enough to take a point away from this game at home to Liverpool as well. The odds against a draw are 3.2, and given the heroics of Joe Hart in the Man City goalmouth, I wouldn't put you off backing no goal scorer in this game at odds of 8.5. It might not be the most thrilling instalment of Monday Night Football. On Sunday afternoon, the big game is Fulham at home to Manchester United. Now, Fulham, the good news for them is that they've won this fixture the last 2 seasons in a row. Last year, they won it by 3 goals to nil, albeit the Manchester United defence on that occasion did include both Michael Carrick and Darren Fletcher in central defensive positions. So they will be stronger this time around, and it's worth looking at the fact that Mark Hughes in his last 8 games against his old side has only managed to yield a single point. So while Fulham have been good at home, they did fall short against the better clubs last season. Apart from that game against Manchester United, they lost 4 of the 6 games against the teams that finished in the top 6. So I wouldn't go rushing to back Fulham to beat Manchester United. The bet that I would look at in this game is about there being less than 3 goals. You can bet at odds of 1.86, and I think that given the great form of David Stockdale coming into the team late against Bolton last weekend, and given the stronger rearguard that Manchester United are going to put up, I think that this game is going to be pretty tight and cagey. United should edge it, but the bet is 1.86 about there being less than 3 goals. Earlier on Sunday, we've got Newcastle. Their return to Premier League action at St James's Park, and they're playing against Aston Villa. Now, Villa had an exceptional away record in the Premier League last season. They won no fewer than 9 games on the road, and I think that they're good value at odds of 2.4 to start again this season where they finished off last. They did look very impressive at home to a poor West Ham side last weekend, scoring 3 goals, and it could have been a lot more. Newcastle faced a baptism of fire at Old Trafford, and despite the fact that they did lose by 3 goals to nil, they were able to create chances, particularly before the first United goal had gone in. There will be a loud and vociferous crowd at St James Park to welcome them, but I think that Aston Villa will be good enough. You might want to have a look at the double result in this. The odds against it being level at half-time, with Villa getting in front by the full-time whistle, can be backed at odds of 5.0. And a 1-0 Aston Villa win is a 7.0 or a 6-1 chance. With injury doubts over James Collins and Carlos Cuellar, it could be that Villa will play a little bit more withdrawn than they did last weekend, but I do think that they'll be good enough for the win at odds of 2.4. The Saturday evening live television game pits Wigan against Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, of course, are top of the league already, having scored that 6-0 win against West Brom last weekend. Wigan couldn't have got off to a worse start. At home to Blackpool, and they lost by 4 goals to nil. They will be smarting from that, and it's worth noting that they were one of those sides who had great bounce-back ability last season. They were able to produce results when they were just after they had been royally hammered. And if you were to look at betting at a level stake on Wigan at home last season, you would have come out in profit despite the fact that they were down towards the wrong end of the season. That's because the odds makers had underestimated them. And to be honest with you, odds of 12.0 about Wigan springing another surprise just as they did in this fixture last season are just a little bit too big. So 12.0 to small stakes about Wigan causing an upset is worth a go. If you fancy a couple of correct score bets in this as well, and it does indicate the topsy-turvy nature of how the game might pan out, it's worth looking at 3-1 scorelines for both teams. The odds reflect the difference in class between the two sides. You can get odds of 11.0 or 10-1 about Chelsea producing a mirror image of last season's scoreline. 3-1 for the Chelsea is an 11.0 chance. The same scoreline as it was last year can be backed at 150-1 if you want to back that on Wigan reproducing last season's surprise scoreline. Plenty of other games throughout the Barclays Premier League to excite you this weekend as well. Everton got off to a poor start last week. They're at home to Wolves and they can be backed at slight odds against to win in the Asian handicap market where they're giving up a goal and a half start. You could also look at Bolton. They've got a great record travelling away to West Ham. They've won the last 6 encounters between the two sides and they can be backed at odds of 3.1 or a little bigger than 2-1 to score their first win of the season. You've got Arsenal at home to Blackpool, and there's plenty of action from around Europe as well. The Bundesliga kicks off this weekend. If you're up early on Friday evening, you'll be able to watch Bayern Munich against Wolfsburg. That's one of 3,500 games every month that are bet live in play on 188best.com. Hopefully, you'll back a winner or two this weekend.